Good evening, everybody. Welcome. I'm Renee Garrity, and I have the honor and the pleasure to introduce Karen Alanier as she reads from her latest of 8 collections, How We Hold On. Karen made me promise to limit my introduction to 3 minutes, so I won't be able to pontificate about her poems. Karen is a poet, librettist, and literary leader who works tirelessly to promote other people's poetry through the word works, reading series, and publications. When she's not wearing her poet hat, and she does have one, she enjoys swing dancing, traveling, jazz, and vegan cooking. Karen is a resource for all things Gertrude Stein. She even has written an opera, Gertrude Stein Invents a Jump Early On. Don't be surprised if you see a bit of Stein's influence in Karen's poems. The collection is a literal and metaphorical travel guide through Karen's life that does not hold back. She reveals the joys and sorrows throughout her life by giving us just a few lines that describe an event and the characters of the participants of that event. The wordplay, repetition, forms, unpredictable rhymes, and her ability to paint a scene so vividly you feel transported in How We Hold On will show you that the definition of wordsmith is Karen Alanier. The titles of her poems, like My Jewish Mother and Christianity, 30 March 2020, and Breaking News in Negril, do not disappoint. Excuse me. They draw you in, and as she talks about her mother's lack of attention to her, being Jewish in 1954, the Spanish flu and COVID-19, love and unlove, her travels to Negril with her beloved husband, Jim, to whom the book is dedicated. Breaking News in Negril paints a picture of her as a mother to a now grown son who just became engaged. It describes the tender relationship she has with her husband and some of the reasons Jim is her beloved, how he comforts her, his sense of humor, and the peace they find even in the smallest things in their surroundings. From Breaking News in Negril, her love, not her son's father, sings, "Don't worry about a ting, everything gonna be all right. We catch the cyan and red sunset, the scissor-tailed hummingbird sipping sugar water on our veranda." With that, please join me in welcoming Karen Alanier to read from her extraordinary collection, How We Hold On. Welcome, Karen.
Thank you, Renee Garrity, for that thoughtful introduction. And thank you, Henry Crawford, for technical hosting and for making the video of the island songs and images. And you have to admire his background. He tried to get me to do that, but it was a little bit harder on my old machine. Welcome to friends and family, and thank you for sharing this evening with me in celebration of my new book, How We Hold On, and in memory of my late husband, Jim Rich. The reading I have planned for this evening is primarily poems that Jim loved and wanted published, poems about our adventures in the town of Negril, Jamaica. Sweet Sop Bebop gets its inspiration from Jellyman, one of the images in the slideshow. The first time I went to Negril with Jim, our driver took us over the mountains. Along the way, we stopped at Jellyman's fruit stand. I asked Jellyman if I could take his picture, and he got out a machete and struck a pose which worried Jim that the man was gonna kill us. I don't think I got that picture. Sweet Sop is a very messy, very sweet fruit with alligator skin that has lots of seeds. The poem is in a form invented by Billy Collins called a paradiddle. It's marked by repetition and what I will call word salads. Sweet sop, bebop. On the road to Negril, we buy sweet sop. On the road to Negril, we buy sweet sop. Driver didn't say aphrodisiac. Driver didn't say aphrodisiac. Didn't say to Negril driver, we buy sweet sop aphrodisiac on the road. So many ruts and goats along the way. So many ruts and goats along the way. Two hummingbirds rock to music pulsing. The way ruts, so many goats and humming birds, two pulsing along to rock music. Delivered to the cliffs, we wave goodbye. Delivered to the cliffs, we wave goodbye. Trade egg winter, shelled cold for fragrant fruit. Trade egg winter, shelled cold for fragrant fruit. For the winter egg delivered wave cold to fragrant cliffs, we trade shelled fruit. Goodbye. Humming, we say goodbye to cold winter. Many birds and goats along the road trade music for shelled egg to fruit so fragrant. Negril cliffs pulsing on the rockway, delivered two ruts, waved to the driver, didn't we buy sweet sop aphrodisiac? The next poem is a love poem, and it was influenced by my experience working at the US Department of Agriculture, and also by Jim Rich telling me he had interviewed John Lee Hooker, one of my favorite blues singers. In college, Jim had been a radio DJ. Something growing. Viscous as honey, sweet as the dew of that suckleweed. Honey, oh honey, my petals burn when you plant yours on mine. It's agriculture without politicians in smoke-filled caucus rooms. Zeus catapults those bolts of lightning. Can you catch that as I nab the electrical charge from you? Rain, 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 and then the sun paints us green, not envy, not look at the roots and the airborne stalks feeling their way. So Negril is located on the western side of Jamaica and has spectacular sunsets. Occasionally one will see light bent, which appears as a flash of green. Strange things often happen in this small town. Sunset from the cliffs. The bride wore black. Dolphins cut the waves. Fins seen first. Bird of paradise, lobster claw, hibiscus, all tongues and beaks, leaned in close like gossips, or a Greek chorus singing Marley's, could you be loved? How did her store burn down after the police stopped him from bulldozing the place? The dark dog Coco circled, lay at the groom's feet. The hired minister left little man Zacchaeus to his tree. Then the red balloon sun slipped with a flash of green into the sea. 13 Reasons for Crossing, is a play on Wallace Stevens' poem, 13 Ways of Looking at a Blackbird. It launches this short history of Jamaica and the challenges presented by this place in paradise. The photo on the back of my book illustrates where you'll find this bridge with no rails. 13 reasons for crossing an unrailed footbridge, long as a cricket field cut in half, crossing a sunning Negril Cove, 25-foot drop to a choppy sea 5 fathoms deep. 1. Captain Bligh snaps his whip at my back, says, walk the plank. 2. I smoke ganja with Jabba Rastaman, selling aki patties outside the gate. If I can eat vegetable brains and it doesn't kill me. 3. In Red Ground, I meet dread and cornrow hairdresser, but don't buy her services. She sicks Nicodemus on my unborn again ass. 4. I bring matzahs for Passover, offer some to the Jews with tattoos. Let's celebrate Moses for parting the Red Sea. These party-hardy hipsters sporting stars of David say, we prefer Easter bun. So the 10 plagues, including rats, besiege everyone. 5. The big-headed, stubby-beaked, short-tailed blackbird male of the Jamaican Picard, otherwise known as Judy, taunts me with his syncopated song, Rickety-tee-tee. 6. 6 children, 6 years old, march one after the other to the middle of the bridge, and plop, 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 they jump gleefully into the sea. 7. Hands with fat fingers reach for my neck. I think it's the tax collector, Nicodemus, but Moody the cook says, bring that cassava root here. I'm going to bake bammies. 8. The ghosts of Arawak Indians, makers of the first Bammy flatbread bread, menace me, screaming, I am one of their Spanish executioners. Hey, I say, backing over the bridge and holding up my matzah. These Spaniards with their Inquisition got thousands of my people too. 9. Fletcher Christian points to a breadfruit tree, says Captain Bligh deprived us of water to bring that protein-filled fruit to Jamaican slaves who refused to eat it. Open wide. 10. Swilling rum and coke, I boast to the toothy bartender at Rick's Cafe, Yaman, if Captain Bligh could not only survive the mutiny on the Bounty, but go back to Tahiti for more breadfruit trees, completing delivery to Jamaica, I could. 11. In a cloud of smoke, Jabba slams down his dominoes, says, Blaida sapida aki. The national fruit of Jamaica wasn't named after Captain Bligh for nothing. Eat it when it's not perfectly ripe and you'll vomit to death. I'd cross that bridge just to know when Jabba got such brains. 12. Sean Connery as James Bond sings Under the Mango Tree with Ursula Andress in Dr. No. That honey and me soon make Bulu Loop. 12 kitties, plop, 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 onto the bridge and into the sea. 13. Ani, Black Sparrow, Kling Kling, Johnny Crow, John Crow, Rickety, Shiny Cowbird, Wild Pine Sergeant. So many birds of black color in Jamaica. I study them to fly across that bridge to my honey on the other side. Liberate the minds of men, Marcus Garvey said, and ultimately you will liberate the bodies. One evening, Jim and I wandered out to the Weston Road of Negril and found a guy making jerk chicken. As we sat there waiting for our dinner, a traveling minstrel appeared and Jim asked him to sing Pressure Drop And he did, and it was quite good. When it drops, you're gonna feel it. We traded internet for mosquito net, cocoon for sleep under a halo of white mesh, the sea beating the coral cliffs of Negril, a lullaby of dominoes, geckos, the kingpins in the road hawking anything you want, the minstrel, fire, improvising, Toots Hibbert's pressure drop, a daughter hopeful that her father in a Savlamar hospital would kick lung cancer with an herbal medicine, something 6 chemo treatments in Georgia couldn't do. Jim Rich was an enthusiastic gardener. Often he would grow plants that he knew I loved, though he had no interest in them himself. The relevance of mint. I breathe mint from his garden, preferring rose hips and lemon verbena. My lover grows peppermint and spearmint for my tea generously. Today I snip stalks and share the aromatic feast with Jonathan and Beverly, the new parents of Johnny, born 18 days into June, anniversary of Edda's birth, the grandmother I lost during my first trip abroad. Much later, at a table detailed with red rose petals, I savored the ceremony of Moroccan mint tea, but I fell in love with mint when I carried my son, Ivan. His name is John too, but in Russian. I called my Russian grandfather Honey because my mom's mom, Etta, summoned her husband Saul, no matter his mistresses, in that sweet way. The Lord is gracious, and so it is that Johnny, Jonathan, Ivan, Hank, Hans, Ian, Jack, John, Johann, Juan, Sean, Shane, Vanya, and Zane all mean John. The Lord is gracious. I breathe mint and mix honey into the tea that I brew from the leaves my sweetheart grew in his garden, those fragrant leaves that sing, he loves me. The first time we stayed at the cliff property known as Tenzing Pen, we met the original owner, a Brit named Richard Murray, and his new American partner. This is the story they told us. The poem is a double sonnet of sorts. Palmer's Tale on the Cliffs of Negril. The Tenzing Pen garden, Palmer loved it. Only 14, hoe in hand, a pleasure. I am the gardener, declared the Brit owner with dirty hands singing treasure. He measured success by those who returned or those like Palmer who made the pen home. But Richard Murray's wife became alarmed. Hurricanes demanded repairs and loans. Richard sold to a floral shirted brute, while others left, Palmer stayed as night watch. Money foremost, the fiend threatened to shoot sea-stranded swimmers not meaning to lodge. A jerk chicken cook predicted his death. Did Palmer see bad boss taking last breath? Maybe Palmer knew boss desired top-notch ganj. Bully crossed West End Road, waved his lute in Rasta Jabba's face. Don't scratch your crotch, sell me weed, you black mother destitute. Kiss me Ross, governor, get away room. Over that road, don't come back, you be spurned. The white devil from hell spit, licking foam. Police, Whitey hissed. No Babylon earned. No doubt Palmer heard shots and displeasure. Did he see a killer in dreads commit bloody murder? No, he said at leisure, but Richard heard. partnered, wrote a new chit. The next poem is the title poem of the book, How We Hold On. My mother kept a steamer trunk with classic clothes immune to fad. My husband owned a cedar chest packed with bits, reins, and riding whip. I am neither fashionista nor ardent horse enthusiast. In my chest, an aging heart brims with blood, both beautiful and swift. I'm about to read the last poem, and I wanted to give you a little heads up in case you have a question, which you can write into the chat. Thanksgiving on the Rocks mentioned 6 people who are sharing the Jamaican national beer, Red Stripe, and that somewhat dangerous fruit, ackee, folded into crusty patties, which were made by the same Rasta you met in the long poem 13 Reasons for Crossing. The people in this group who smuggled in the food in their suitcases were a catering crew from a film company. We always met the most unusual people at Tenzing Pen. Thanksgiving on the Rocks. 6 women and men, evenly paired, meet on the cliffs of Negril, a sunny day in paradise. With bottles of fizzy Red Stripe, they share ackee patties made by the Rasta across the road, talk turkey about his thundering dominoes, jive about the suitcase of frozen beef, flour, butter, ham hauled into Jamaica illegally by one pair of the 6. A food holiday ensues. Who worries about clothes? Who frets about shoes, except for the excursion to walk Mayfield Falls, to stumble over the rocks larger than breadfruit, smaller than sea grapes, so many sizes, an aquatic gauntlet to scale, and measure. The barefoot guy, Tony, says, don't slip in your plastic moccasins. Sit on this shelf, let the rushing stream clean you. This water feels like wine. Dive under the stones to travel one pool to the next. Emerge in another life. Duck behind the raining falls. Your screen from the world. Beggars who are hungry. Pickpockets who are greedy. On the way out, touch the shame mimosa and watch its fingery leaves close to tell you goodbye. Thank you.
you, Karen, very much. Does anyone have any questions they'd like to ask Karen?
Oh, so I see Barbara says, when's the next flight out? Well, it's not in the United States, so I'm not not headed to Jamaica anytime soon.
I have a question while everyone's thinking of theirs. In one of my favorite poems, Daddy and I watched McCarthy hearings. You invent your own form. Could you tell us about what was involved in that and what led you to do it?
Well, that is a really good question. It's never just that simple about what led you to do something, when you're inventing your own form. I guess I thought that the topic was kind of challenging because the voice is a child's voice, and I wanted to bring in something that sounded a little bit more nursery rhymish in a way. So the repetition helps with that. And, I figured, well, if other people could make up their own forms like Billy Collin, I guess I could do that too. So that's basically what I was thinking when I was doing this. I think often, the form is resorted to, or a form is resorted to to give an envelope for the subject matter, which may be difficult to put down on the page, because once you have a form, you have to work with the limitations there.
Well, that's very interesting. And I will hope to be led to invent my own form. Are there any other questions? Let's see. Why are acai poisonous? Oh, it says it's toxic in many pores. Susanna Case response. It has
Aki.
Aki.
Okay. Aki, I don't know why it's a poisonous, but if it's not exactly ripe, I mean, if it's not ripe enough, and if it's too ripe, you're in danger of getting sick from it.
Mm.
But on the other hand, it tastes wonderful, and it's kind of like scrambled eggs, and everybody eats it. And you trust the Rasta across the road who came in and murdered the bad guy. And hey, it's Jamaica. What can I say?
Yeah. Okay.
Well, Margot Stever wants to know, is your next opera going to be produced soon, Karen?
We hope that there's going to be a workshop next year, Margot. That's probably the best answer I can give you right now. We didn't get that $20,000 grant from Opera America, and we didn't really expect to, but we certainly worked hard enough to make that happen. And I haven't heard about the $7,000 grant yet, but the competition for that one is even steeper than the other one. So we don't know what's going to happen, but at least the theater is on board. And as long as we keep Nancy Rhodes, who's the director of Encompass New Opera Theater, healthy and alive, she's going to do it. I know she will.
Okay. Well, it's the time to close for the evening. And I want to thank you all for joining us. And as Karen shared her new book, How We Hold On, we'd like to give a special thanks to Henry Crawford, the technical wizard who managed all things technological and put together the video/audio scrapbook. Most of all, I'd like to thank you, Karen, for your book, How We Hold On. And you can purchase her book directly from her. If you'd like an autographed copy, just email her and she'll give you the details. You can also purchase it from the publisher, Broadstone and Small Press Distribution. You'll find the links to that website in her website. So good night, stay safe, and stay well.